Well, I hope you're finding these little videos helpful, and that at some stage you'll be able to take the next step and move up to actually lodging your PPSR statement. Now, I'm doing two today. I'm doing the paperwork involved with the PPSR, and I'm also showing you how to lodge it. So this is more the legislation side of the paperwork for the PPSR, and the other one I'm doing is how to actually lodge it. Now, you're only going to learn by trying things, so just don't be afraid of the sites. They're quite difficult, but you will get the hang of it. And the more you look through this video, the more familiar you will become with some of the statements and words that I use. Now, one of the first things you have to do is become familiar with this site. This is the New Zealand legislation site. If you're in another country watching this, then you need to become familiar with the legislation of your country. Just go to Google and you will find it normally pops up somewhere in the search, normally on the first page. However, part of this is learning how to use these sites. Now, over here you'll see that we have acts ticked and we have regulations unticked. So if you're going to go to acts, you will need to tick that one. If you want to go to the regulations, you'll tick that one. And also we need to know this drop down menu, because all the acts, whatever they start with, like in this particular case here, the Personal Property Security Act starts with a P. So you'll need to click on the P and then push enter, and you will come up with this act. So learning this act or going through this act just gives you some sort of idea, and the more you go through them, the more you understand them. Don't worry, it's taken me many years to get to this stage. Okay, so when we register for finance statement, we have to understand what is actually happening. Now, this is coming from the law side of it. The other video showing you how to do it just shows you the steps of what you're doing. This is showing you what happens when you lodge it. In effect, we are putting a levy against the title of the debtor. Now, who is the debtor? The debtor is the paper title. In 1933, we, the living people, were made securities for the national debt. So the debtor is the piece of paper. So we're going to put a levy against the piece of paper. And so if you want to know what a levy is, it's a seizure, the raising of the money for an execution that has been issued. In order to make a valid levy on personal property, the sheriff must have it within his power and control, or at least within his view. So if you have your printout, which we've discussed in earlier videos, you will have that property within your view. Our secured party group should be registered against an organization. Okay, so I'll explain. The organization is your all capitals name, or your deceased estate, which is your full name done in all capitals, or in this case we're just using John Henry Doe. Now, the debtor shows here in the Personal Property Securities Register, this is part 10 of the Act, includes the person named as the debtor in the financing statement. So when we name them in the financing statement, John Henry Doe, they are the debtor. We are the secured party. For a debtor that is an organization, we need to know the type of organization, i.e. whether it is a company, a partnership, or a trust, and the organization's address. These are the things we need to know when we're lodging on the PPSR. Now, in the case of John Henry Doe, or our all capitals name, the organization is a trust. It's a deceased estate, but it is also a trust. And the address is most likely the Treasury or Public Trust. We can't be certain of that, but it's either along those lines. And it's going to cost you the princely sum of $3 to register. A few more things we need to familiarize ourselves with is, what is secured party group, because when you first log on, you are going to have to lodge a secured party group on the PPSR. They are a central identity within the PPSR. They are essentially the creditor. Now, we are the creditor. We are the security for the public debt, or for the commonwealth of the nation. It is the lender or person taking a security interest over certain collateral. A secured party, a secured party, creates a secured party group to represent itself. So the secured party group is in actual fact us looking after ourselves. After this initial secured party group registration, all financing statements are registered against that secured party group. Now, one of the things I think would be very, very handy is to learn to pause the video and take screenshots, because I'll be putting documents up here, and unless you're really, really quick, you won't be able to copy all the words down. And I haven't yet learned how to lodge documents on YouTube. At some stage I will do that when I find out. Okay, so we now need to know what we're going to describe our collateral as, and documents of title is the one that we need to secure it against, because if you remember rightly, I just told you that the paperwork is the debtor, so we need to secure our finance claim against the documents of title. Now, just below that, you'll see chattel paper. Now, if you're going to put a commercial lien against anyone, you will need to lodge it against the chattel paper. Now, you need to go through the process of giving them 3 letters before you can put a chattel paper on the PPSR, but that's well worth knowing too, and I will do a YouTube on doing a commercial lien. Okay, now we can look through the interpretation part of the Act, and it says a document of title means a writing issued by or addressed to a bailee that covers goods in the bailee's possession that are identified or are fungible portions of an identified mass. Okay, the bailee has our documents of title. B, in which it is stated that the goods identified in it will be delivered to a named person, or to the transferee of that person, or to the bearer, or to the order of a named person. So when we put the order out, we then take over the bailee's position. But the bailee does hold our documents of title. Now, as I say, that could be Treasury, it could be public trust. We don't know for sure. Butterworth's Law Dictionary says that a bailee is a person in possession of goods belonging to another. I do apologise for that little blot in the corner there where you can't quite see another. However, after seeing the previous few slides, we now become aware of who we are addressing our financing statement to and what we listed under. So, therefore, our financing statement should start out by being addressed to the bailee in possession. So it's going to be the documents of title. Description. This security interest is addressed to the bailee in possession by person's personal representative on behalf of beneficiary John Henry in being, Doe in person, in accordance with his will. God's law, the unwritten law of the land, the maxim in quiem est ingenius homnibus non est liberum rerum suarum alienationum, and in compliance with, but not limited to, nor subject to the subordinate imperial laws and inferior statutes, Public Act 1999, number 126, and King James Version of the Bible 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 122. Now that's where they tell you about tithe, where they will keep 1/10 of you. they quite wrongly tell you that tithe is supposed to go to them, but tithe is in actual fact title, and they're going to keep a tenth of you. So the tenth is title. Possession is 9/10 of the law. The other tenth is title, and that's what they're telling you in the King James Version of the Bible, is that they are holding your title. Okay, it continues. Over all titles, certificates, contracts, licenses, registrations, trusts, accounts, and all property hereinafter listed that by law devolves by will, in accordance with, but not limited to, Imperial Act 1837, number 26, section 3, John Henry Doe in person, debtor, now hereby lawfully with clean hands and equity pledges all its property to the sole contributing beneficiary, John Henry, who is us, which is the secured party, hereby actually and constructively noticed as to the inherent lien for the equivalent sum certain value of $1 billion lawful currency of New Zealand, securing all rights, powers of attorney, privileges, indemnities, and immunities with actual, contingent, or prospective title and interest in and of the root of title and interest in the birth certificate number 1948-105-217, and every alleged birth documents, records re John Henry Doe as received by the Registrar of Births, Deaths and Marriages, Wellington, New Zealand, and a debenture, indenture, account, hypotheca, herediments, res, the energy, and all products and proceeds derived therefrom, nunc pro tunc. And it continues, it's quite a lengthy document, including but not limited to all capitalized names, John Henry Doe, J.H. Doe, John Doe, Mr. J. Doe, Mr. Doe, and or any other derivatives thereof, and or all contracts, agreements, and signatures and endorsements, facsimiles, printed, typed, or photocopied of secured party's name, predicated on the name of the Crown entity. I do apologise for that. It's correct. The spelling's correct in the presentation, but when you put this thing on, it comes out crook. Described as the debtor or any other derivatives thereof, and any or all contracts, agreements, and signatures, and or endorsements, facsimiles, printed, typed, or photocopied of secured party's name, predicated on the name of the Crown entity, described as the debtor, and all property is accepted for value, being exempt from levy and duty. Now then, you need to list your public documents. So you want your birth certificate. So the collateral type will once again be listed as documents of title. And the description, you put your birth certificate number there, your Inland Revenue account there, if you have a Ministry of Social Development contract card, you'll put that there, your passport, your Visa card, your bank, your driver's license. Now this is securing all the public documents so that you have control of them. Now the last one, you'll notice I have put a chattel paper. So if you take someone to court with the chattel paper, you lodge the description of it there. So I've lodged that against a bent copper. After you have lodged this financing statement, you will receive an email confirming it. Now we need to take a quick look at the PPSR Act and the regulations, because most people overlook this crucial step to the registration process. And in order for our PPSR lodging to work, we need to notify the parties. We write to the Minister giving constructive notice. Okay, now it says, for the purpose of this Act, an individual knows or has knowledge of the fact in relation to a particular transaction when that person has actual knowledge. Or if you go into a government department, the government department knows or has knowledge of the fact in relation to a particular transaction when that fact has been brought to the attention of a senior employee of the government department. Okay, so you need to write a letter to that person and deliver it to the minister. Now, the method of service is if it is delivered to that person or that person's agent. So that's all we need to do. We send it by registered mail to the minister, and it's delivered to him. All debtors must also be notified. So if you're going to be lodging chattel paper, you must notify the debtors. Okay, now the following pages show a scanned copy of one of my letters to Craig Foss, Minister of Commerce. Okay, now look, the cabinet gets reshuffled on a regular basis, so please check, go onto Google and check who the Minister of Commerce is when you send this letter. But all this is giving them notice. Take a screenshot or pause the video and write it down, but it'll give you some idea as to how you do it. Now, this is our latest attempt for the lodgement on the PPSR, and it should be fairly close to being correct. We're constantly studying to perfect our paperwork, but they do tend to shift the goalpost quite often. So you will see that in this one I have an agreement, a notice, and a delivery order. So as we learn more, we add to this. It changes all the time. If you've got a better one, please by all means use it. But this just gives you some kind of idea on. This is probably attempt number 2000 that I have, and I change my listing on the PPSR as soon as I come into more knowledge. I change it all the time. It's been changed so many times. I've got numerous emails showing all the changes. So good luck, and remember that unless you give it a try, then you will remain forever enslaved.